Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is your science teacher here, and this time I am here with a brand new chapter of NCERT grade 8, that is conservation of plants and animals. Students, every living organism that resides on earth is a member of a dynamic community, and students, that dynamic community is called the ecosystem. Students, our nature is a boon to us, and the part of the earth in which living and non-living organisms exist is called the biosphere, and this biosphere contains a huge variety of species living in it that depends on each other. And students, the interrelationship or interdependency of the species and their relationship with the environment to support life is called the biological diversity. Students, this community of organisms interacting with each other and their physical environment is called the ecosystem. And students, this ecosystem is a complete unit that consists of living creatures and non-living matters. And this community of organisms interacting with each other and their physical environment, including climate change, is called the ecosystem. Students, there are numerous kinds of plants and animals that exist on earth, and earth has all suitable conditions that are necessary for survival. Thus, we can say that on earth different forms of life exist, like a variety of plants and animals exist on earth. So students, in this chapter we are going to learn and discuss about such kind of plants and animals that exist on earth, and we will also going to learn and discuss that how can we conserve them. So let's begin the chapter. Now students, the first topic of this chapter is deforestation and its causes. Students, as I said that different varieties of plants and animals exist on earth, but due to the overgreedy nature or due to the insane activity of human being, now these animals and plants are in the verge of extinction, and there is a danger of their extinction in future. And students, the first major cause of the danger of these plants and animals in nearby future is deforestation. Students, deforestation means the clearing of forest and using the land for various purposes, such as for timber and other uses of land. Now students, there are many major reasons behind the deforestation, as the first one is forest fire and severe drought. Secondly, using wood as fuel to make furniture or for industrial purposes. For example, like as you all know that wood pulp is used to make paper. Nextly, using the forest land for building houses and factories. Nextly, clearing woods to procure land for cultivation and grow food for the ever increasing population. So students, these are the major reasons behind the deforestation. Now students, due to the deforestation that was generally caused by the man causes many severe and adverse effect on nature. For example, the first consequences of this deforestation is that due to it increase the pollution level on earth. And do you know why? Because plants are the natural purifier of air, but if there is no air, then the air will not purify. So due to deforestation, pollution level of the earth increases. Secondly, it increases the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and again the same reason behind it, because the plants are the purifier. Nextly, deforestation causes increase in temperature of global warming, and students, you all know that plants help to keep the environment cool. Nextly, deforestation causes lowering of level of groundwater. And do you know why? Because as the deforestation occurs, then there is no rain in that area and water flowing away as river water and causing permanent drying over there. The next consequence of deforestation is that it causes imbalance in nature. Nextly, as I said earlier, that deforestation causes decrease in the rainfall. Now students, the next consequences of deforestation is that it decreases the fertility of soil. And students, now the last but not the least, the consequences of deforestation increases the chances of natural calamities like droughts and floods. Now students, there is a question that why would deforestation lead to an increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and global warming? Students, as we all know that during the process of photosynthesis, plant use carbon dioxide and release oxygen, and thus how maintain the atmospheric balance. But students, due to deforestation, fewer trees means that less carbon dioxide will get recycled in this manner, and as a result, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere trap more heat reflected by the earth, and thus this result in temperature on the earth and led to global warming, and that's how deforestation led to an increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now students, there is another question that how does deforestation cause droughts and reduction in rainfall? Students, deforestation leads to reduce rainfall because it leads to reduction in natural recycling of moisture from the soils. And students, this recycling only take place through vegetation and return back in the form of rainfall. But students, as we all know that when trees are cut down, then obviously the percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases, and that's how causes global warming. Moreover, as I said, that plants absorb water from the soil and release it in the air through transpiration. And students, it is this moisture in the air which eventually turns into clouds and return to earth as rainfall. But students, due to deforestation, the temperature on the earth disturbs the water cycle, and thus how it leads to a reduction in rainfall and droughts. Now students, let's understand that what is desertification and how is it caused. Students, desertification is a type of land degradation in which a relatively dry land region becomes increasingly arid, typically losing its bodies of water as well as vegetation and wildlife. And students, in other words, we can also say that desertification is the process by which a fertile land turns into a desert. And students, the main cause of desertification is deforestation, because deforestation exposes the top layer of soil to natural forces like wind, water and sunlight. And students, in such land where there is no trees to hold the soil, then in that place the soil gets eroded quickly by the natural agents, and due to this the lower, hard and the rocky layer of the soil get exposed to earth. And students, when these lower, hard and rocky layer exposed to earth, then these layers have less humus and less fertile, and that's how gradually a fertile land turns into deserts. And students, this process is known as desertification. Now students, let's understand that how does the deforestation affect the quality of soil. Students, as you all know that the forest add humus to the top layer of the soil, and the roots of the plants helps to hold the soil together and allow the surface water to seep into the soil and helps in to increase the ground level water. But students, due to desertification, the soil erosion take place. As we discussed earlier, that when there is no plants to hold the soil together, then it allow the natural agent like the water, air to erode easily. Secondly, due to desertification, the physical properties of soil change and it becomes less fertile. Nextly, the water holding capacity of the soil decreases. And do you know why? Because there is no roots of the plants to hold the soil together and allow the surface water to seep into the soil. And that's how it results into floods. Now students, there is an important question that will help you to understand that what is wildlife and why it is necessary to conserve it. Students, wildlife conservation is generally the practice of protecting plant and animal species along with their habitats. And students, do you know why? Because these wildlife species helps to maintain the ecological balance. And students, as part of the world's ecosystem, wildlife provides balance and stability to the nature's process. And students, the goal behind the wildlife conservation is to ensure the survival of these species and to educate people on living sustainably with other species. Now students, let's understand that how does the government conserve our forest and wildlife. Students, in order to maintain the ecological balance by conserving the wildlife, the government lays down some rules, regulation and policies in order to protect our forest and wildlife. And students, beside it, our government marks some flora and fauna habitat as the protected areas where the activities like cutting down trees, grazing cattle, hunting, plantation and cultivation, poaching are strictly prohibited. Now students, the next topic of this chapter is Biosphere Reserve. Students, biosphere reserves are generally learning places for sustainable development. And students, these areas are generally aims to conserve the biodiversity of the area as well as its culture. And students, these areas are generally nominated by national government and these area remains under the sovereign jurisdiction or supreme power of the states where they are located. And students, these biosphere reserve may contain other protected areas as well. For example, the Panchmani Biosphere Reserve has a national park into it called the Satpura National Park and two other wildlife sanctuaries called the Bori Wildlife Sanctuary and the Panchmani Wildlife Sanctuary. So students, that's how a single biosphere reserve can also contain other national park as well as other wildlife sanctuary. Now students, let's discuss and try to understand that what are flora and fauna. Students, all the plants that are generally present in a particular area are referred to as the flora of that area. For example, the flora in the Panchmani Biosphere Reserve includes teak, sal, bamboo, etc. Means to say all the plants of the Panchmani Biosphere Reserves called flora. Students, whereas animals that are generally found in a particular area are referred to as fauna of the area. For example, the fauna in the Panchmani Biosphere Reserve includes lion, tiger, monkey, etc. Now students, let's understand some terms that will help you to understand this chapter more elaborately. As the first one is species. Students, a species is a group of organisms that share a genetic heritage, and students, they are generally able to interbreed and to create offspring that are also fertile. It means that only member of one species can reproduce offsprings that are fertile and can give birth to future generation. It means that only members of one species can reproduce offsprings that are fertile as well as give birth to future generations. And students, the most important thing about a species is that the member of a particular species look like each other, and also they share many same characteristics. Now the next term is endangered species. Students, endangered species are those species that is very likely to become extinct in the near future. And students, under endangered species there can be animals and plants as well. Now the next term is endemic species. Students, endemic species are those species that are found in just one region and nowhere else in the world. For example, the endemic flora of Panchmadi Biosphere Reserve, that are sal and wild mango, are only found in that biosphere reserve and nowhere else in the world. And that's why we can say that the sal and the wild mango of Panchmadi Biosphere Reserve are endemic species. Now students, the next important topic is wildlife sanctuary. Students, a wildlife sanctuary is a facility where animals are brought to live and to be protected for the rest of their lives. And students, unlike a zoo, here in wildlife sanctuaries, animals live in their natural habitat and they are free to roam anywhere as they like. And students, as compared to biosphere reserve, here in wildlife sanctuaries, people living in these sanctuaries can graze their livestock, collect firewood or medicinal plants, and the activities that are strictly prohibited in wildlife sanctuaries are poaching, capturing animals, etc. And students, these activities, means to say poaching, capturing animals, is considered to be against the law, and so doing these activities are punishable offense. Now students, the next topic is wildlife sanctuaries in India. Students, the Indian wildlife sanctuaries have unique landscapes as compared to the wildlife sanctuaries of other countries. And students, the Indian wildlife sanctuaries includes broad level forests, mountain forests and bushlands in deltas of big rivers. And students, generally in these Indian wildlife sanctuaries, several threatened wildlife species such as golden cat, pink-headed duck, black buck, white-eyed buck, gharial, marsh crocodile, elephant, rhinoceros, etc. are protected. But students, unfortunately, some unsocial elements of the society encroach upon the land of these protected forest areas and destroy them. Students, in present time, there are 543 wildlife sanctuaries in India, which includes many as 50 tiger reserves, which aims on the conservation of tigers in India. And students, these tiger reserves works under the project name Project Tiger, and under this Project Tiger, Jim Corbett Park was the first tiger reserve of India, and it is situated in Nainital in Uttarakhand. And students, this Jim Corbett National Park is also the oldest national park in India. And students, this Project Tiger is generally a government initiative and their main aims was to ensure the survival and the maintenance of the population of tigers in India. And students, like Jim Corbett National Park, there are many other wildlife sanctuaries in India that are called bird sanctuaries, and their main aims on protecting birds. For example, Keoladeo National Park was a bird sanctuary before it attained the national park status. Similarly, there are many other national parks in India that focus on conserving a particular species. For example, like Javai Leopard Sanctuary, which is in Rajasthan, and its main aim to protect and conserve the leopards in India. Now students, the next kind of protected areas is national park. Students, a national park is the area in use for conservation purposes created and protected by national governments. And students, the main aim to build such areas to preserve the entire ecosystem within the area, including the landscape, flora, fauna, and historic objects of that particular area. For example, the Satpura National Park is the first reserve forest of India. And students, within this Satpura National Park, you can find the finest Indian teak as well as the rock shelters, which are the evidence of the prehistoric human life in the area. Now students, there is a question that why do animals become extinct? Students, there are many reasons for the extinction of animals. For example, pollution, hunting and fishing, poaching, etc. And students, due to such kind of disturbances in the natural habitat of animals make it difficult for them to survive, and hence as a result they become extinct. For example, the dinosaurs that became extinct thousands of years ago. Now students, there is a question that why do we need to conserve animals? Students, animals such as lizards, snakes, owls and bats play a very particular role in our ecosystem, and these animals also helps in maintaining the ecological balance. And students, these animals too form a part of our food chains and food webs. So in order to make different life forms on earth and to maintain ecological balance, it is necessary for us to conserve these animals. Now students, the next question is that what do we mean by an ecosystem? Students, an ecosystem of an area refers to all the living organism and non-living components of a place. For example, plants, animals, microorganisms, climate, soil, river, deltas, etc. Means to say all the living and non-living components of an area is comprises together to form an ecosystem. Now students, there is another important term, that is Red Data Book. Students, have you heard about this book? Students, this Red Data Book is a public document which is generally created for recording endangered and rare species of plants, animals, fungi, as well as some local subspecies which are present in a particular region. And students, the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, means to say the IUCN, maintain this record of endangered plants and animals in this book. And students, India also maintains its own Red Data Book, which keeps a record of endangered plants and animals that are found in India. Now students, let's understand that what is migration. Students, migration is the movement of birds, animals or peoples over long distances in order to find a suitable survival condition. And students, the migration can be of two types, permanently or temporarily. And students, as I said, that migration is the movement of birds, animals or humans. So the migratory birds are that kind of birds that fly to far away areas every year in order to avoid harsh and inhospitable, means to say unsuitable weather condition in their natural habitat. And students, these migratory birds cover long distances to reach another land and lay their eggs there. Now students, let's understand that why recycling of paper is necessary, or why should we recycle paper. Students, do you know, to make 1 ton of paper we need to cut down 17 full grown trees. So students, if we reuse and recycle paper, then we can save 5 to 7 trees. And students, by adopting these kind of habits in our lives, means to say reuse and recycle of paper, then we can not only save trees, in fact we can also save water and energy that are generally used in manufacturing paper. And students, beside all these things, it can also help in reducing the use of harmful chemicals that are used to make paper. Now students, the last topic of this chapter is reforestation. Students, reforestation is the opposite of deforestation, means to say reforestation is the planting of more and more trees, whereas deforestation means cutting down of trees in a large number. So here in reforestation we plant new trees to restock forests that have been destroyed under deforestation. Students, do you know that in India we have the Forest Act that aims to preserve and conserve natural forest and meet the basic needs of the people living in or near these areas. And students, this reforestation can be happen by both ways, that are naturally or can be done by artificially. Students, if a deforested area is left undisturbed for some times, then the forest grows again by itself. On the other hand, if we cut more trees than the ones that grow on their own, and hence we should plant these trees to promote reforestation. So students, in order to maintain the ecological balance in nature, we should plant as many trees had been cut down, and the new trees should be of the same species as the earlier ones. Now students, with this topic here, your chapter number 7 is completed. Now I will be come back soon with another chapter. Till then, stay home, stay safe and stay healthy.